that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, and to those who are called to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Hello everyone, my name is Bradley, and this is the first episode of Apocryphal Talks. I'm really excited to start this podcast because I want to share with everyone the truth of our spiritual nature, the truth of the power of Christ that works in our daily life, the truth of the Bible and its apocryphal books, the truth of the church and its creation, and like I said, the truth about our spiritual foundation. But before I go further into that, I want to kind of introduce myself. Again, my name is Bradley. I live in Texas, and my whole purpose of creating this, well, I didn't start to create this podcast, if you will, or whatever you want to call this, until I really looked at my blog and I realized I was maybe I should do some kind of spoken word information type of thing, and podcasts come to mind. And so I was like, what would be the main function of this? Okay. And so of course I came up with those ideas to talk about the apocryphal books and the nature of our spirituality, the true nature of our spirituality. So, my blog is the Magi Ordo and Ecclesia Pia Christi on Tumblr.com. Again, that's Magi Ordo and Ecclesia Pia Christi .tumblr.com. That'll give you more information about what I'm trying to do and the function of the blog. I'm basically trying to create a magic order that focuses and centers around Christianity. But it's not like fundamentalist Christianity. I want to bring back the traditions of Judaism and bring it into Christianity, because I see that, because Jesus Christ was Jewish, that some traditions should be carried over. Of course, we know that Mosaic law has ended because of the sacrifice of Christ, but I don't see why we can't celebrate still Shabbat and other traditions of the Jewish faith. And I think it's kind of an appropriate time to get back to our roots as Christians into the Jewish faith, because we need to break down the stigma and that wall between Judaism and Christianity. That hate that created so much malice between both faiths. And that's what I find so funny and crazy, is because whenever I started this blog, there were a lot of hateful people that came out and hated the fact that I was using the Shabbat and keeping Shabbat or the day of rest or whatever, or the Sabbath on Saturday, and using a kiddush to bless the wine that I would later use as sacrament. I'll explain that more in another podcast, but let me go further into explaining about this podcast, because I know that a lot of people that will probably listen to this will probably know a lot of the information that I'm going to say. Some people won't. And, my point is to attract people to this, because I really want to build a magical order within the Church of Christ. People find that so crazy. People find that so ludicrous or maybe even heretical. They call me a heretic. But I mean, 3 magicians came to give Christ, gifts on the day of his birth. Magicians have a long history in the Bible, and there's actually a very ancient tradition of magic within Christianity, but not just in Christianity, but in Judaism. But again, I'm going to talk more about that in other podcasts. But let's go over what Apocrypha means. What is Apocrypha? Well, way back in the early days of the church had a certain set of books that were open to the public, and then a set of books that were not, and that were considered Apocrypha, or hidden material. The etymology of Apocrypha goes into the late 14th century and refers to the apocryphal books, again, of the Bible, from late Latin apocrypha or scripta, from the neuter plural of apocryphus, which means secret, not approved for public reading, from the Greek apokryphos, hidden, obscure, hard to understand, books of unknown authorship. And that's the thing. People aren't sure who wrote these apocryphal books and what place they had in the early church. But there is burials where people are buried with these apocryphal books. I mean, if people are buried with these books, I mean, that shows the major importance for them of these books. I mean, are we to ignore a whole generation of Christians who died for their faith and for what they believed in? To totally erase a certain set of books because it doesn't fall in line to a certain agenda that you're trying to spread. And that's another crazy thing about how the Bible was put together, because it was an order, the Nicene order. That's where the Nicene Creed comes from. Or the Nicene. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. Excuse me, everyone. But anyway, this order came together and put together the Bible and made sure that certain books did not enter into the public publication of the Bible. And that's really what drives me crazy about the early church, or the church in general, because it grows to be so progressive, but it grows to be progressive in the wrong way. I wouldn't even call it progressive. They're being destructive. While they hide away knowledge that is, that would lead us to true freedom within our minds and within our spirits. But enough about that. I'll go more into exactly what I'm talking about, with the mind openingness of the Apocrypha books of the Bible. It's really interesting. I mean, you got the book of Adam and Eve. You have the Maccabees. You have the Testament of Solomon. I mean, it's really interesting books. But let me talk more again about the Magi Ordo and Ecclesia Pia Christi, or the MOEPC. It is an unofficial church that I'm creating, and it is something that is really important to me because I believe that the truth and wisdom of the magical Christ should be given to everyone. Everyone should recognize that we have an inner spiritual power that we can grasp onto through faith and through good actions and a likely likeness of Christ. But that is what the MOEPC is about. The restoration of a church that died long ago. But also the restoration of a magical practice that has died long ago. Again, I want to reorganize the traditions of the Christian church. I want to bring back the Shabbat. Of course, keeping the Shabbat holy by keeping the Sabbath dinner and the blessing of the Sabbath wine and things of that nature. Of course, there'll be acceptance of the apocryphal books within the doctrine of the MOEPC. Excuse me. One thing I'm really excited to do is that I had this whole idea that before rituals, people would have to wash each other's feet. No, it sounds really disgusting and silly to some people, but the symbolism behind it is what's so beautiful. Whenever Mary Magdalene, washed Jesus' feet with her tears and hair. But not only that, but when Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, the humility behind it, the beauty, the grace, the mercy. That's the symbolism I want to bring to this order, this magical church and order. And that's the thing. It's a magical order and church, meaning there might be some of the congregation that will, follow into full magical practice. There will be some that will only stay for church services, and that's fine. That's totally fine. I mean, come from sacrament, come for a baptism, whatever it is. But I really want to build this idea. I want to see if other people will attach to this idea. Again, I'm just really excited. And if there's other people out there that practice magic like this, I really want to hear from you. I want to hear from those that not only practice magic, but believe in our Lord Jesus. Now again, guys, you can find me at magiordo in ecclesiapiacriste.tumblr.com. You can email me at the OEPC at gmail.com. Again, that's the OEPC at gmail.com. That's about it. And remember, guys, this is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. John 15:12.